Well, you know, just riding with my kids and hitting the park a lot, because that's where they pretty much are all the time. And I just started thinking about the whole scene there. And as much fun as it is, and I've had some of the best experiences I've had over the last few years of snowboarding, is going off stuff that I probably wouldn't do if I wasn't getting pushed by, you know, buddies or my kids or whatever in a park environment. At the same time, I felt like some of the creativity was coming out of the sport, that parks are so two-dimensional, and the runs, you know, you're stopping at each hit, and then it's just, you know, there's one line going into it, and sure, people are doing incredible stuff in the air, and athletically and creatively, but I just felt like it was, in some ways, we were losing a little bit of what the sport was all about, or what the sport could be all about. Well, I, you know, thought about the whole concept of how could we get, you know, more style, more creativity into freestyle riding, yet retain a lot of what park riding brings to the sport, and get people thinking more top to bottom, get an environment where people are riding together of different levels, and starting at the top of a run and finishing at the bottom, rather than maybe somebody just being a spectator and somebody, you know, hitting all the features. And when I started thinking about, you know, just an idea of how could that possibly be done, I thought, you know, a lot of the influence came from like Craig Kelly, and looking at, say, earlier video parts of Johan and some of the crazy stuff that's been done that's just so fluid. I mean, I love when a video part is like consecutive hits on a big mountain environment. And that's the stuff that I love the most, or just little creative, you know, environmental jibs, you know, like some of the stuff that they did in Chill. And the first guy I talked to, I think, was probably Dave Downing. I mean, I talked to my kids first. I bounced a lot of stuff off them. I said, well, what would you think of a run that was, you know, a little more organic, more top to bottom, very fluid, allowed for a lot of creativity, at the same time gave the opportunity to go, you know, probably as big as you wanted, or as technical as you wanted, more so. And they were definitely feeling it. And so when I thought it might be something appropriate for Burton to get into, because nobody else would probably do it, you know, I don't know who else is as much vested in the sport as we do. I talked to Laurent here at Burton, and he was stoked on the idea, and he said, yeah, let's do it. Let's dedicate some resources to it. And then Jeff Believe, who was the first guy sort of in-house to get things done, that I talked to, and I just knew he was the guy for it. He's a great rider. He talks to the resorts a lot. He gets the sport, and we have great communication. So I knew that was a great place to go, and the guy gets stuff done as well. So that's sort of where we took it. I mean, I think Craig, you know, Craig's whole vibe in the sport could be summed up in one word, which is slopestyle. I mean, he was the first guy to really, that I ever saw, that ever used that word. I don't know if he thought it up, maybe not, but you know, he had a board called the slopestyle before, you know, slopestyle even existed. And I think what he envisioned for slopestyle was pretty much what, you know, what Stash Run is all about. It's an opportunity to go top to bottom, do a lot of freestyle stuff off of a lot of organic or features made out of local materials, and that's how, you know, Craig would ride. I mean, the guy was an incredible sort of jibster before that even happened. And at the same time, he'd go big. And, you know, he was a pipe rider, so he had all the, you know, the background and the tools necessary to do whatever he wanted. But I think that, you know, his riding and his love of big mountains and big mountain runs, and that's what, you know, Stash is intended towards. You know, I mean, sure, it'll maybe ultimately be on smaller mountains as well, but to put it on to take advantage of the terrain and what a mountain has to offer. I mean, a park can be put anywhere, and parks, there should be parks everywhere, and it's great that you can ride a park anywhere, but there are mountains that deserve more than parks, and like North Star, you know, for them to have a run like the Stash, it's really taking advantage and giving a snowboarder an opportunity to experience what that mountain has to offer. I think the biggest challenge of making Stash a reality was finding people to implement it, you know. And if you've ever seen me around a chainsaw, it's a pretty scary sight. I mean, that wasn't going to happen, and you know, Jeff Believe here at Burton got involved, and it was sort of on him to find the perfect partners to get the thing off the ground. And I think the guys at Snow Park Technologies, Gunny and his crew, and the people at North Star that have invested so much in snowboarding and are so behind the sport, is just the ideal spot to get it launched. I mean, it's just, you know, to do it the first time is a huge challenge, and it won't be perfect, and there'll be ways to make it better, but I can't imagine it going off any better in its, you know, in its initial stages than with the whole crew that we've got set up right now. But freestyle riding, to me, means you're wearing comfortable boots, you've got bindings that aren't too restrictive, you can drive in your boots, you can run around in them, and all of that. And so I think that freestyle riding it really keeps the sport honest and pure and more of like a surfing, skating type background to it. Freestyle riding and big mountain riding, they might be different, but there's no reason that they can't be combined into one run. And that's what Stash is all about. And probably the closest thing, if you look in the past, if you look at, say, Johan's video parts back in TB5 or that era where he was just doing these insane lines down huge mountains and doing insane freestyle tricks at the same time while going down and connecting, never stopping, just connecting one move or dropping one cliff to another. That's the sort of spirit of the run, is that, you're not going to hopefully stop it. If some guy's lined up to hit the Jersey jump or something, you might go around and hit some other, jib instead, and just keep going and be creative and don't take the same line every time you do down it like you do in a park run. But at the same time, bust out all the freestyle moves that you've got and push yourself and progress as much as you can in that regard. So I think that anything, to just keep rolling and it's fun to watch, and I think it's fun to ride like that as well. Well, the whole concept behind Stash it's not a money-making deal. I don't know. It's hard to imagine how we would really profit from it other than the sport just getting better and more people riding. So I think that's pretty much what we're looking for. I think we'd like to stay in that game, and because it's been so much fun and it's pushed us and forced us to look at the sport from another angle. So I hope we stay in it, but I hope that other mountains, maybe they don't have a Stash run, maybe they do their own interpretation of it, and I think that we should back that 100%. And as far as the Stash run itself goes, I mean, we've got our involvement. It's all about feedback. I can't tell you where it's going to go because it hasn't opened yet. So I'm sure once December and January roll around, we'll be getting more feedback from riders saying, well, that's great, but you should do this, or hopefully it'll open people's minds to completely new stuff that we can do on runs, and it'll just be a takeoff spot for the sport to get into a whole new realm. And it's not, and that's not saying park riding is going to go away or anything else, but it's just going to be something different, and hopefully that's something that offers a little more creativity, variety to riders out there.